So what I just created is just it's a side menu app in Ionic. So it'll have a list in there. I mostly created that so we could at least try do some routing.
I have home and list in my menu.
Yeah, let's see.
I just have
Yeah. So that's it. That's what you
start?
have.
Okay.
Yeah. Now what you can do, so that's just the basic web view.
Uh-huh.
Are you in Chrome?
Yes.
Do you have developer tools? If you go to developer tools.
I will see now if I have developer tools.
So if you go to developer tools.
Uh-huh.
So that's without developer tools. If I go in here, turn in developer tools. Then you'll see something like this, and you can click on this little button here, and it will toggle to a device.
Wait, what? Oh.
So now it looks more like.
Now I'm a ninja.
So now if you come up here, you can also select the kind of device you want to emulate, whether it's a Galaxy or an iPhone.
This is cool and I like it.
Okay. So one of the other benefits that I find in doing hybrid type apps, and maybe like with Android, is the emulators often, especially on Android, are not very fast. So I think you can do about 80%, 90% of your development all in a browser. That is a big savings. So do a lot of your debugging and everything, and then finally that last 10%, which may be pretty heavy uplift, put it on the device and then test on the actual device. And everyone will always encourage you to always test on the device because you get different results. So my wife has an iPhone and I have an Android, and we have different Androids, and I'll put them on there, and you get CPU speeds and stuff like that really affect how the app works.
Now Ionic has the dev app. Have you used that?
They
have a mobile app where you can supposedly test these here.
Yeah, so that works. I think that still the problem is with a lot of the Cordova plugins. They haven't figured a way to do that yet, right? Which makes sense.
They do a bunch of them. But
Yeah,
there's some that they
but
just
then
do.
some that don't.
And Apple, renewal, they shut them down on
Look, I'm
iPhone.
Oh, yeah.
So you only got it on Android now. I've still got it on my phone because I got it installed before.
Yeah.
Shut it down, but it won't get updates. Yeah. So it was a great option. It's not there.
Yeah.
All the way now.
Okay, so we've got a basic one, and so now we're gonna use the CLI and generate a few components. Okay, so in all of these we're gonna create a separate page. So if you're looking at this menu, so
My menu is working.
oh, helps if you keep it running. So what you probably have on yours is you just have a home and a list, right? The start one.
Yeah.
We're gonna add this other menu here, okay?
Button.
And then when we click on it, it should just list some buttons. Okay, so pretty basic one.
Okay, you ready? I'm gonna unplug it for a second. Sure. Yeah, so it takes all the. I didn't bring the other.
Okay, so next command, I'd like you to try this with CLI, and we're going to generate a page. Okay, so here's the syntax. So Ionic, G for generate, you can spell it out, just abbreviate it. Think of what type you're going to do, and then call it button dash example, and then they have this option here. You can do dry run, means test it, which is nice to find out because it's going to create files for you, and maybe you don't want them where you think they are.
Is that in the button example app? Because I do have a button example already there.
Yeah,
I do too.
Under
With,
the start, it's there.
Yeah, okay.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so inside the button example app.
You're in the badge example.
But didn't she say that she didn't have the button menu option? Because I do.
Oh, do you have it?
Yeah.
On the start branch, it's there.
Like,
So which
yeah.
which one are you serving?
Are you in the start branch or the final branch?
Badge.
That's why.
On the start as well.
She didn't have the she did not have the button example because she was running the badge example.
Yes, that was
Oh,
wrong one.
well, it's probably a better example because it looks like I found up the start one anyway.
But she did have a badge, probably.
Yeah, mine has badges.
Yeah. So it looks like I merged the two or something. So
Because the page is there, it's just generated blank. It's just the default.
oh, okay. So it's there, but nothing's in it.
Yeah, there's no button.
Okay, then this will be a really simple workshop.
He didn't actually want to demo generating a page.
Yeah, so we already generated the page. Okay, so if we just even look at the docs, let's
Button.
It's the same port, and we stopped the other one. So refresh this. Hold that and refresh.
Do you have specific plugins in IntelliJ for Ionic?
I just have like the Angular. I don't have Ionic.
I was just wondering because when I import the project, you know, it's just for the frameworks.
Yeah.
Sometimes Angular, that's enough, I guess.
Yeah.
So home is.
So with your start app, we're just gonna create some buttons on this button page since the page is already there. I thought I didn't have that part, but I guess we do. So you should have like an Ion content, which is like a content area for, oh, you can't see that very well. Let's see.
Did you change branches?
I don't know.
It's not on the master branch, but it's on the outside of the branch.
We need to change branches. Yeah.
Button dash example dash.
Well, if she's in the directory, that dev directory, we did a clone.
Yeah, so it should be linked and you should be able to switch branches.
Yeah. Can she use the git command?
Yeah, and Git.
But I wanted to do
So
that.
do-
I don't have the zip, so that's why it's not working.
Yeah, if you use the zip, then it's static. It's just whatever zip file, which is probably just from master.
You can link it.
So if you do the git clone, then you should be able to go into the component workshop and do a git checkout and then the branch name. And it makes it easy to switch back and forth.
It'll be faster. She's already done the npm install and everything in there,
Oh,
so probably faster to Git remove origin or something.
oh, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I have to do that with Git card.
You could do git fetch, I think that'll get all your events, and then you can change branches.
I thought the zip didn't even have a git directory in it.
Yeah, I
though.
think you have to Git init and then Git remote.
Yeah.
And origin, something like that. But I have to work that out.
So since this was already done, maybe let's look at one of the things that's different in Ionic 4 is they have adopted the Angular routing, and there's still some debate on when you do a generate. I know a lot of the Angular guys here in Utah are complaining that it creates a new module for every time you do a generate, and they hate that because then you got all these modules. Now, I think there is one benefit in Ionic, and I'd have to test this out. But what that allows you to do is do dynamic loading, or just-in-time loading of your components. So in an Ionic app, that's a big benefit. So one of the criticisms of hybrid apps is they load too slow. But if you can make it pretty modular, that everything's in a module, when it brings up, it comes up really fast. And then all this other JavaScript and CSS files and TypeScript files, they don't get loaded until that module gets loaded. And so it's maybe a little overkill, and I'll have to play with the CLI to see if this does it every time. But when we generate a page, what it creates, so if we look at this page, this button example, it creates its own module, okay? So it automatically creates a page and puts it in a module, which might be overkill. If there's a module for every page, that seems maybe too much. But it creates a module, and then it also adds it to the routing. So if we go here, it'll dynamically come to this routing, and this is how Angular does its modular routing. What it does is it says if there's a path and the component is called button-example, then load the children from this module. So this is one of the benefits of the CLI, because that's a lot of syntax to get right the first time is kind of a pain. So the nice thing is when I do generate, it builds that all for us. Okay, it creates, so these are all the routes, and we'll have another session just on routes themselves, because it's a pretty key part of Ionic and Angular. But it loads this module, so when I select it, that gets loaded into the browser or on your phone. So if you had a really big Ionic app, the benefit is first thing comes up and loads really quick. Like on my app, I have like a splash screen that comes up just to keep the user occupied while it loads. But there's probably lots of things that maybe your user's not even going to get to. So why load those at all until they get to that page? So this gives you that flexibility to do it. And so a lot of the new development in Angular and Ionic encourages you to always use just-in-time loading and not load everything up front. But if you're a typical single-page application and you're used to a browser, that may seem like a lot of overkill. If I'm writing like a Gmail app and everyone's going to run it in the browser and you have pretty fast bandwidth, just load it all up now, and then it's really fast and responsive once it's loaded. So if we look at this, it creates this path, and then what I was going to have you do, but now since it's already done, you don't need to do that, if we go in the home page, no, let's see.
Should do it, get her installed on the third project.
Yeah, where's my note? Where's my button example? No, we didn't get to it. Oh, here it was. It's in the app component. And what we'll, in our app pages, we'll load. So we'll create a link to this. So this is in the menu system. We'll call it button, and then we have that route. And then you can have like an icon. I picked hammer for like these all examples because we're still working on them. So what you should see when you bring it up is this menu system right there.
Is it constructing a URL in addition to keeping track of the stack, or is it in version 4? I mean, because the issue we ran into is on the desktop. It doesn't build a URL for you with the Ionic 3.
Yeah.
And so if you refresh the page, it just goes back to the base page. But
Yeah.
is this taking care of that issue, or is that?
Yeah, click on button, or keep
It does.
Well,
Like it does construct.
having a stack as well as the URL.
Yeah. But it's a whole new way to do URLs. It used to just be a hash, you know, with a
Yeah.
Now it's parentheses with a colon.
I saw that.
It's like
That's one.
state, it's, yeah.
Well, I think they just adopted the whole Angular when Angular 2 came out, they changed all the routing. In fact, maybe it was Angular 4 because they had it was Angular. They had different versions. Angular 4 came out, and the routing and Angular were all the same. And Ionic adopted that. But I had the same problem on my app that you'd have to handle on a refresh because it'd take it all the way back. And you have to start all
Because you
over.
have the Ionic page decorator that I think you can build like a history on. But
Yeah.
With refreshing, I don't know how to do it.
Yeah. So with this first one, let's just create a simple, let's just create some buttons. So if you have this Ion content padding, you can play with different buttons. So Ion button is the element, and then you can use different attributes like the colors. But I didn't do anything with the sizes. But try playing like with the different attributes. Let's get those docs up. Let's see.
Testing the sizes and colors.
That's just a guess.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's one thing on my Twitter, I know all kinds of. Yeah, it's gonna be like a year for us. Well, maybe I'll just have something and wait on. I mean, how much of a pain is it really to maybe a refresh that is potential? Because you can still navigate to a particular URL, which is the crazy thing in Word. If you refresh, it's like it doesn't know what to do.
You still have to store this. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know how that would do that. Because it's the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good.
I ran into the problem because I wasn't using beta docs.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, hey, that's just how auto complete, so you can
There we go.
well, but the end tag and do all the attributes for it. Yeah, that's pretty auto. Good,
I made so many.
Hit the next schematics.
I did. I think. I think I did at least. Did I create a new one?
I was importing the space because it was just.
So is everyone able to just play with those buttons and try different colors, different styles? So the other thing that's cool is it uses cascading style sheets, or you can also use SAS. What's SAS stand for again?
CSS, it's superset.
Software as a service?
No, not SAS.
Awesome style.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, is it-
I was very confused.
Practically awesome.
Yes.
So the cool part is it works. It's better for programmers that maybe don't know CSS as well, but you can like do common things and create conditionals. So it comes up with some defaults. Like these are the default colors of primary, secondary, different things. So then when you come into your styling, you could just say, okay, I want everything to be the primary color. And then if you want to change your app, all you got to do is go into one place, and that's where it's at. And then the nice thing again with Ionic is it follows this opinionated framework. So every app is the same. You know how to style it. You go here. You can add other different colors and syntax. And also because it's Angular, you can do custom stuff on the page itself. Now most of these will come up with blank, but see if you had a button and you wanted to style it a certain way, you could put your styles right here in that component itself, which is one of the attributes of Angular, is being able to treat the components as as widgets that could be styled separately.
Did you run some command line command to get the theme into this project?
No.
Or does it come with
This
the
was just-
Ionic project?
So like, I think, Todd, you did that first when you did like just start, when you just create project. So if you do Ionic start and then name your project, it creates all that skeleton code for you. But remember to put type Angular. If you do Ionic Angular, it's now version 3. So that was one of the problems I had. So I think maybe the next one we'll do like a list, a little more advanced. We have just an hour left.